Sandra Guzmán, soy hija de Lidia González Santos Román y Miguel Antonio Rodríguez. Soy nieta de Mami Angélica Emiliana y bisnieta de Lucía y de la gran matriarca de Guayanilla de las Indias, la gran taína Mamá Ramona Román. Nací en la tierra del cacique Agüebaná. Me honra mucho estar con ustedes y más aún estar en la compañía de la grandiosa, divina y poderosa, la compañera, la doctora Rigoberta Menchú Tum. Earlier today, I had the pleasure of sharing words with Doctora Menchú Tum. I introduced myself as an indigenous daughter of Boriquen, a nation popularly known by its colonized name, Puerto Rico. We Taínos are the people who discovered Columbus in 1492. And considering the genocide that occurred upon arrival, it's a miracle that I'm alive today. I tell her that I'm a survivor of an indigenous genocide, and Dr. Menchú Tum corrects me, and she says, "No, Sandra, you are a resistor. There are millions of survivors. You are what is called resistance." Indeed. I recently heard a Lakota elder say that the sages say that it will be indigenous women who will heal the world. Inside of us, inside of women, is the power of love and strength given by the moon and the earth. And as Dr. Menchú Tum said earlier, the sun, which gives us life. When everyone else gives up, it's the women who sing powerful songs. Am I saying this right? We know this. Women are the backbone of our communities. Praise the women. And with us tonight is one of the great indigenous women of the world, a leading light and one of the greatest advocates for justice and human rights of indigenous people. When you learn the story of Nobel Peace Laureate Doctora Menchú Tum, the violence that she has witnessed in her life, you are left with no words, which is kind of rare for me as a writer. It's been gruesome, unfathomable, wretched state-sanctioned violence. What she and her people in Guatemala have suffered and continue to suffer in the hands of corrupt and criminal governments, the violence that she and her people have survived and resisted is enraging. Entire villages in flames, burnt to the ground. Men, women, babies, children, grandmas, grandpas, burned, raped, killed, including many of her family members. Her brothers, her father, her mother, sister-in-law, cousins. She is a survivor of a massacred family. She is a resistor. Thousands of peasants, hundreds of trade union workers and students, thought leaders, politicians, priests, and nuns who stood up against injustice were savagely killed by a dictator sponsored by the United States. In fact, more than 200,000 people, 80% of them Maya, were assassinated or forcibly disappeared in Guatemala, beginning in 1964 to 1966. It's still happening. Today, 60% of the population in her beloved nation lives below the poverty line. And the country has some of the highest rates of youth malnutrition in Latin America, with the United Nations estimating that 1 out of every 2 children suffers from malnutrition. 1 out of every 2 babies suffers from malnutrition. This is astonishing when you consider how much food Guatemala exports to the United States. It is very likely that the bananas you used in your smoothies this morning, or the plátanos you eat, and the many fruits and vegetables that are grown and harvested by indigenous hands to land in your dinner plate, comes from Guatemala. How is this possible that in one of the richest countries in the Americas, there are children who die of malnutrition, This is the question that each of us must ask ourselves tonight. What can we, the good citizens of the world, do about it? Dr. Menchú Tum has suffered so profoundly in the fight for justice that you wonder how she keeps going. And what you learn is that Dr. Menchú Tum is driven by the love of her people, by the love of indigenous people in the Americas, by the love of all life. She is living proof that love is the most powerful and transformative energy on the planet. She says, quote, when we do something with love, it heals. What else keeps Dr. Menchú Tum going? Justice. What motivates her is her Christian faith. When she was a young woman, probably around the age of some of the students here, she decided that her life did not belong to her. And she said, I quote, they can kill me at any time, but let it be when I'm fulfilling a mission so that I'll know that my blood will not die in vain, will not be shed in vain. The only road open to me is to our struggle, the just war. The Bible taught me that, she wrote. Throughout the history of Latin America and the Caribbean, women have played a fundamental role in the struggles. Not all of us have been given credit. But like Doctora Menchú Tum's mother, Juana Tum, taught her, any revolution in which women have not participated will never be victorious. I am the editor of a newly released international anthology called Daughters of Latin America, and in between the covers of the book, I gathered 140 women. There's poetry, there's essays, prayers, chants, memoir, novels in progress, letters, plays, and speeches. I am proud that there are 24 languages in this book, many of them indigenous mother tongues of the Americas. There's Quiche, Cachiquel, Soqueus, Navi, Aymari, Quichua, Miskito, Wayu, Uwa, Mazateca. America Latina is a glorious mosaic, one of the most ethnically, racially, religious, and linguistically diverse regions of the planet. Yet we think it's only Spanish is spoken, right? It's the mainstream way of looking at us. In Mexico alone, for instance, you can speak an indigenous language every single day of the year, and not one of them is Spanish or English or French or Portuguese or Dutch or any of the settler languages of the Americas. In fact, these languages are in trouble. When you consider that an indigenous language dies around the world or is murdered, depending on the lens, it is almost a miracle that these languages continue to live in the Americas. I'm going to repeat this again. According to UNESCO, every 12 to 14 days, an indigenous language dies or is killed around the world. This is state-sanctioned murder. When an Aboriginal language dies, an entire library is gone, a connection to the cosmos, and a connection to each other. This is what we call linguicide. And what I did in this anthology, as Rosa Chavez, a Quiche Cachiquel poet from Guatemala, says, is language justice. In Daughters of Latin America, I gathered the writings of women who speak truth to power and who create safe spaces and who show us how to love. I gathered 500 years of the written word and thousands of years of literary oral literature. And while Dr. Menchú Tum is not part of the book, her warrior spirit is all over this anthology. For she and the women in the anthology illuminate, they show us the way. For her, being a Christian means refusing to accept all of the injustices committed to her people. Her main weapon is the Bible. Her main weapon is her faith. Everything she does is in memory of those who are passed on, for those who are alive today, and for the children yet to be born. Her causes have been radicalized by poverty in which her people live. She has been radicalized by malnutrition. She has experienced malnutrition, and she knows about the